I'll tell you what happened this weekend. Initially, I was supposed to just watch and review Maharani only, which is on this list on May 28th. But on May 27th, the Friends reunion happened, and it not only sent me on an emotional roller coaster ride, but also immersed me into conversations about its relevance, its problematic elements, the stuff that people liked, the stuff that inspired people. You get the gist. Now, Maharani wasn't enough to wash off the bittersweet taste of Friends. Hence, I ended up watching a lot of things, some old, some new, but qualitatively really good, and now I'm here to share my not so brief thoughts on them. However, before we begin, I have to remind you folks to sit through the credits. It's not that big of a deal. When going to theaters was a thing, and it is becoming a thing in some countries, we had to leave to probably catch the last bus home or avoid some kind of weather anomaly. So, not sitting through the credits was excusable. Not really. But for the sake of the argument, I'm going to say that it was. Now, you are in your home. Just grab a glass of water or something and sit through the credits. Did this turn into a stay hydrated disclaimer as well? Well, nothing wrong with that. You should stay hydrated and you should sit through the credits. Because people work hard to make these movies and shows, and that's the least you can do for them. Another thing that you can do is like and share this video, say anything you want to say about the movies or shows I'm talking about, and agree or disagree with what I'm saying in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. Alright, now let's start with the list. Maharani, streaming on Sony LIV. It's loosely based on the lives of Lalu Prasad Yadav, Rabdi Devi, and the Fodder scam, for which, by the way, Lalu Prasad was recently granted bail. Of course, the names have been changed and an assassination attempt has been worked into the plot to make things a little dramatic. But yes, it's about the Fodder scam. Let me talk about the good things first. The performances are consistently great. Kudos to the casting director for assembling this cast. Huma Qureshi does most of the heavy lifting, shifting between fish out of the water comedy and genuine concern for the well being of the people. Som Shah spends a lot of his time in the bed, restricting his performances to just gestures before he can actually flex his acting and actual muscles. But it is Amit Sial's Naveen Kumar that will grab your attention. Because every time he's on screen, things truly light up, and even when he isn't, he will be on your mind. It will take a little time to get used to the sepia color grading. Is it necessary to associate the 90s with sepia? Isn't there any better way to do that? I don't know. That said, once you do get used to it, you will appreciate the detailed production design, costume design, and set design. And although the overall camera work is a little basic, it manages to capture all the intricacies in its frame pretty efficiently. The score is functional, the pacing is exceptional. 40 minutes pass by like it's nothing. All that said, things get muddy when you move from the technical aspects and into the political aspects of Maharani. I want to make it clear that this is my personal opinion and this is me projecting the feelings I have about politics onto the show. I don't think there's a single good politician in existence. There can't be. The people before us and the people who are running the country now have turned it into such an ugly profession that even if you want to do some good for the country by getting into politics, you can't. Politicians are the scum of the earth. So every time a movie, or in this case a show, tries to say that, oh no, you know what, there are pure, just and honest politicians among us, all I can hear is propaganda. Without spoiling anything, a cursory look at Maharani and the Fodder scam or Lalu Prasad's stint as Bihar CM will show you how the series bends facts to get you to root for Rani, which is just plain wrong. This is pure speculation, but I think the series wants to say that, okay, politicians should be like this and the other way is wrong. But all it ends up doing is whitewashing the sins of the people whose actions have inspired this show. Castlevania Season 4 streaming on Netflix. I can't give you a recap of what has happened till now. What I can do is give you an idea of who's where at the beginning of this season. Trevor and Sypha are hunting down creatures that are trying to resurrect Dracula. Isaac is on his way to kill Carmilla. Carmilla wants to take over the world. And Alucard is forced to come out of his emotional retirement to help a village that's been attacked by monsters. The last 3 seasons were a good mix of action and slow burn storytelling. This season, it's firing on all cylinders. And it's understandable because it's the last season. So, if you're looking for more talky, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're like me and you're looking forward to action, you're in for a treat. Because there's tons of that. However, that also means that the animators had to go through some shit to make this happen. Like right off the bat, there's a 6 weeks ago montage of Saifa and Trevor fighting with various creatures, and it's insane. Now, since I am no animator, you're probably not going to understand what I'm trying to say. So, here's a professional animator's explanation.
Todoroki, when he's like first really shown in the challenge, he like freezes a robot. It's just one drawing like this, I think, and then the background is going. So you're just like, whoa, this is awesome. And then he just kind of goes like this, and a big giant ice thing climbs up the robot. If you think about it, it's just the background moving. It's just a drawing of a hand doing this, and the background is moving and tracking in a way that makes you believe. The character's not really doing anything interesting in this whole scene, but it's just like the feeling and the flow and being smart about their pencil mileage.
Pencil mileage?
Yeah.
What's pencil mileage?
Pencil mileage is like if you were to take all the lines that you have to draw that robot and put them in one line, it would be miles and miles.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
I made up that definition, but that's the idea. Is
no,
like,
it makes sense.
Is how much work you have to put on. It's being smart about how you're using your time. Anime does that arguably better than anyone. If you draw a face once and then you draw a mouth, that's low pencil mileage, so then you can shift your focus and expenses and budget to the scenes where they just go all out.
When watching like an Attack of Titan episode, and there's a lot of standing around and talking, and a lot of shots that like are somebody's hand, or somebody listening, or somebody's mouth or something like that, it's like, oh, there's gonna be a big fight scene at the end of this.
Yeah. So it's like non-anime people see shots like this, like, why do you like this? No, it's just like one drawing of a mouth going, you're like, this means something good's coming.
Yeah. Two things that are not happening in this season are standing around and talking, and still images with just the background being animated in a way to make it look like something action-packed is happening. Bodies are zipping all over the frame, complex choreographies are taking place, there are hand-drawn liquid simulations happening, CGI particle simulations are happening, complicated armor and character designs are being thrown into the mix just for the heck of it, and it's all gorgeous and smooth and beautiful. I cannot say for sure, but the budget for this season must have been through the roof, and while hoping that the animators got paid handsomely for the work, I'm going to say that the results are visible and truly extraordinary. Now I know that the show isn't just known for that. It's the philosophical conversations about mortality, emotional manipulation and more that attracts people. And there's one in this season that I think will stick with you. It's between Lenore and Hector, and they talk about the difference between power and strength, and how people sometimes mix those things up. They basically say that strength is a positive thing and motivates a person to get through the toughest shit there is. Whereas power is like a parasite which has to be fed from time to time so that you can look like the toughest shit there is. Until, well, it consumes you. Yeah, that really resonated with me. Please watch this show, it's fantastic. Sandeep Aur Pinky Faraar, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Late to the party, but yes, the people who are talking about it are correct. This is a really fine movie. I mean, it's a Dibakar Banerjee movie. Has this man ever made a bad movie? No. So why was this so severely undermarketed? I don't know. It was silently released in theaters in March, that is when the second wave of the pandemic was raging, and it was met with such horrible and straight up weird reviews. Thankfully, post its OTT release, it has gotten the love and appreciation it deserves. On the surface, it's about Sandeep, played by Pariniti Chopra, and Pinky, played by Arjun Kapoor, who are on the run when their respective deals with their respective bosses go sideways. And the question is, will they make it across the Nepal border before they are caught? Yeah. But if you go a layer deeper, this apparently simple movie is about the banking fraud that was, is, and always will plague the country as long as CEOs of private banks are in cahoots with the government and vice versa. If you go a layer deeper than that, it's about how most of us have been reduced to data. We are important as long as we are paying our taxes, buying into various schemes, and promoting capitalism. And the only way we can probably get out of it is by moving to a small town such as Pithoragarh, where people at least see you as humans. If you go a layer deeper than that, it comments on the patriarchy that exists in small towns and big cities. In big cities, you can be killed no matter who you are. In small towns, you can also be killed for being who you are, but there's a slim chance that someone will be there to stand beside you. Yeah, the very existence of patriarchy negates the chance of a happy ending. If you go a layer deeper than that, It's about the corruption of the Indian police and how they can casually frame someone as Pakistanis to cover up their mistakes, because that is a narrative that the common folk will buy within seconds. And if you happen to be a good cop, you will be taken out sooner or later. Yes. Yes to more de-glorified depictions of the Indian police, please. And if you go a layer deeper than that, it's an attempt to whitewash Salman Khan's fans. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I think that a lot has been said about the writing, which is great, and the acting, which is great. These are career best performances from both Arjun and Pariniti. और जयदीप, नीना जी और रघुबीर जी का क्या ही बोले. They are always awesome. But one thing that I think people are failing to point out is the sound editing. I'll give you two examples. One is the epic dance scene and the other is the bank manager scene. Usually dance scenes just have the sound of the song blaring on the speakers. The sound of the steps hitting the floor, the clothes rustling, or the dancers huffing and puffing after each move is cut out to make things look perfect. But the point of the dance sequence in Sandeep Aur Pinky Faraar is to show how imperfect it is. So all those bits of sound are used, thereby making it realistic and messy and awkward. As for the bank manager scene, a key component of that moment is entrapment. Nobody is around to hear or see what is about to transpire in that office. And Sandeep is trapped with this man. However, there is a subversion. So now it's not Sandeep who is trapped with this man, but it is the man who is trapped with Sandeep. And the perspective cuts between the interior of the office and the hallway just outside that office, with the sound alternating between loud and muffled screams, thereby really selling the impact of that altercation and making its repercussions seem all the more devastating. Please watch Sandeep Aur Pinky Faraar. Arjun and Pariniti, please do movies that will allow you to flex your acting chops like Sandeep Aur Pinky Faraar did. And Divakar, আরো বেশি করে সিনেমা বানাও। এই এত বছর পর পর একটা করে দুর্ধর্ষ মুভি দিলে কি হবে? Operation Java, streaming on Zee5. I think I have already stated before that I hate cops and movies or shows that glorify them. So I was expecting Operation Java to suck because it's a cop drama centered around Antony and Vinay, two B.Tech graduates who are trying to get a job in the cyber cell of the Kerala police. Well, I am here to report that it doesn't suck because it takes a very different route while depicting the police and actually ends up criticizing the whole profession and the country's treatment of job seekers. The movie has three clear acts. The first one is about a movie getting leaked. The second one is about Antony's ex-girlfriend getting scammed. And the third one is about a delivery boy murdering people. By the way, all of these are based on true incidents. And the movie goes on to show the people who are actually behind solving these cases and how they never get the credit that they need and deserve. With each act, the rose-tinted glasses on Antony and Vinay and probably the audience as well are taken off. In the first act, there are slow-motion shots of the police solving these cases and their verbal harassment of minors are treated like it's not actually harassment but a means to get justice. So yeah, full glorification. In the second act, shit gets a little real with the violence and harassment feeling like it's a little too much even for Antony and Vinay who are fans of the police. By the third act, the cyber cell, the police and Antony and Vinay are on opposite ends of the moral spectrum. And the duo and the audience as well are shown what you actually get despite gushing over anything backed by the government. Also, each act has a one take. In the first act, it's at the bus stand where Antony and Vinay are chasing a lead. The one in the final act also takes place at a bus stand, like the movie is saying that things are coming full circle. But it is the one in the second act that blew me away and made me rewind and watch the whole scene again. It begins with the camera following Vinay and Antony meeting the members of the cyber cell. Then it goes past them and through the cubicle and starts following the duo through the windows of the cubicle and then re-enters through the door. Now, initially you will not think much of it, but when you notice that there was no way for the camera to get out of the cubicle, your jaw will hit the floor. It's probably a simple trick of removing a panel in the cubicle to let the camera person out and then replace it as soon as it goes out of frame before re-entry. However, it's done so perfectly that it needs to be pointed out. Operation Java is definitely one of the most important movies of the year. I say this year because unemployment has gone through the roof in 2021 and nobody's talking about how we are going to deal with it. And by we, I mean we the people and the government as well. Meanwhile, private corporations are using this opportunity to hire desperate folks for little to no money and exploit the hell out of them. So, Watch this movie, wake up a little, talk about unemployment, and hold the authorities accountable for pushing batches after batches of educated human beings towards a dark future. The Mitchells vs. the Machines, streaming on Netflix. Very late to the party. Yes, all the rumors are true. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is one of the best movies of the year, and I think I'm gonna rewatch it several times throughout this year and the next year and the year after that and the year after that, just to make up for the fact that I didn't watch it when it released, and because it made me happy. Look, here's what happened. When the movie was released, I was sad, and I didn't want to watch it in a bad mood. So I kept it in the dreaded watch list. I was feeling marginally better, hence I picked it up, and I loved it. The movie has a basic premise: broken family ties, big apocalyptic event, family goes through it, saves the world and the family. Now the most obvious reason why I'm in love with it is because of the dynamic animation and of course Monty the dog. Or is he a pig? Or a loaf of bread? He's adorable is what he is. But the not so obvious reason why I'm in love with it is how it embraces filmmaking. Every aspect of it. It is the reason why Katie and Rick can't see eye to eye. But it's also the thing that brings them together. The cliches that we usually see in movies, which are probably inspired by life, helps the Mitchells devise their plans to topple Pal. There are several references to things from movies like Furbies and the music from Kill Bill. It's in the DNA of the Mitchells vs. the Machines, and I appreciated that a lot. Side note, Linda Mitchell going into Kill Bill mode is definitely one of my favorite scenes from the movie. On a main note though, I want to thank the Mitchells vs. the Machines for saying that if you are imperfect as a family, it's alright. I know that we say that, but how often do we see that in practice? It needs to be said until we start to practice it. My family isn't the most affluent or hip or fashionable one on the block. And we are often othered because of that. We have never been bothered by that because we know that at the end of the day, sticking together is what matters and not how we look while doing so. We know looks are temporary, but the bond that we share is forever. We know. However, seeing people tell stories based on similar sentiments is undeniably heartwarming. Also, I want a Monchi in my life now. Streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I'm going to talk about this movie very briefly because every single aspect of this movie is a spoiler. If you don't want to hear my non-spoilery thoughts as well, that's okay. Just go and watch it. The plot revolves around Shaji, played by Tovino Thomas, and his family who live in a remote home in Kerala. Shaji's wife and child are planning to go away for a few days to clear her head. Shaji's father is planning to take a trip to the doctors, and a few workers have been called in to take care of the palm trees surrounding the home. That's basically it. The first hour of the movie is a fore display of the intensity of these subplots and how masculine Shaji is. I was 99% sure that it's gonna be that kind of a movie where it's gonna be like, hey, look at Shaji's beard, it's awesome. Look at Shaji's abs, they're awesome. Look at how Shaji doesn't allow his wife to smoke a cigarette but still gives her some of that good old cancer. It's awesome. Look at how Shaji makes love to his wife. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like Arjun Reddy but in a village setting. But as soon as Kala hits the 1 hour mark, the main plot is flipped on its head. And it's flipped so well that for some weird reason, if you were rooting for Shaji, you are going to hate its guts. However, like me, if you weren't rooting for Shaji, you're going to love the hell out of it. That's all I want to say because anything that I say after that is going to be spoiler-filled. And seeing the lack of discussion around this movie, I'm sure that many haven't even seen it. So, please go into it with the minimum amount of info and you can thank me later. I mean, thank the filmmakers first, then thank me. I'm in awe of the movie's action sequences. I think this is one of the instances where a little over-editing actually helped to sell the jarring and frantic nature of the scenes. But the stunts! How did they do those stunts? I think that by now you'll know that costume design plays a huge part in stunts because it helps the stunt person cover up the padding that they need to absorb kicks, punches or any other impact to the body. It also helps them cover up wire contraptions used for stunt work. Here, Shaji is in a body-hugging wet shirt and lungi and the boy, yes that's his name, is half naked throughout the last 2 acts of the movie. How did they do the stunts? I don't know. And I think the ambiguity makes those set pieces all the more awesome. Burnham Inside, streaming on Netflix. I'm gonna go a little off script on that. Off script, I haven't written a script for this because it's difficult to talk about this so-called comedy special because I don't know if there is anything remotely comedic about this. Um, the special actually just revolves around Bo Burnham, um, just sitting in his home in a room and making this special. Apparently, he has made it over the span of 1 year or so, I think, and he makes a disclaimer at the very beginning that it's going to be very messy and it's gonna be very weird and it's gonna be a special, but it's gonna be very weird because it's like a collage of all the emotions that that he has felt throughout this whole period. And the thing is that I don't know how to critique it because it's so personal for him that and it's such an intimate depiction of what he has gone through that critiquing it in the truest sense is like I am attacking all those sentiments, all those feelings that he has had, all those struggles that he has had, and what has gone before in his life that he had to struggle through during this process. So I don't want to critique that in that sense. uh, I tried to write a script for this, but I was completely unable to do that because the feelings that I had after watching this was way too complex to put into words. I have a few notes that I wrote. I have a few notes that I wrote while watching it. The first thing that I wrote that is brilliantly edited and staged, which is like obvious, and it's weird how I won't say weird. Weird isn't the right word to express how great the editing or the staging is. Um, it's truly mind blowing that a person going through what Bo went during this process was able to assemble in a way that looked like it does in the special. It's insane. Like if I am messed up, if I am this messed up, and I'm in no way comparing myself to Bo Burnham, but I'm just for the sake of the argument, I'm just saying that if I want to uh, constructively depict the mess in my head, it's not even remotely going to look like that. It's going to look like shit is what it's going to look like. So the fact that somehow this man was able to process his grief and uh, his insecurities and his anger, his frustration, his sadness, and put it together in this way is just astounding. Uh, I think there's nothing in existence right now that can be compared to this. It's truly a masterpiece. Again, like even if I use the word masterpiece, the word masterpiece has some kind of precedence, and then people will automatically start saying that, oh, so and so is a masterpiece. So is it better than that? Is it better than this? And that's why I don't want to attribute this special to the word. I don't want to attribute the word masterpiece to this special. It's something of its own, and that's what it should be called. A few tricky aspects or a few gray areas of this, and I want to address the gray areas first because I want to talk about something that is more positive by the end of it. I'm hoping there is something that comes out positive out of this whole ordeal. The gray aspect that I want to talk about is that Bo Burnham is a white person. He has, and the color of his skin gives him a privilege that no other person going through this pandemic has. ठीक है. So the problems that he's facing, the struggle that he has faced is small. I don't want to say the word small. I don't want to say the word small. It's his struggles are obviously coming from a place of privilege. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody who's not as privileged as him has gone through this pandemic in ways that I can't even explain. Like, and he's in America. He's in America where I guess they have faced the situation that we in India are facing right now, and it wasn't even as bad as it is right now in India. So when you put everything in perspective, obviously that kind of reduces his complaints and his struggle. uh, it makes it a little more, it makes it small. I'm sorry, but I have to use that word, small. But I don't want to say small. uh, how should I say it? How should I say it? Like when you compare it, like I said, like I said, that when you compare it to everything that has happened, it looks like it's his complaints seem frivolous. Yeah, I think I can say that it's frivolous. And I like the struggles are very different for very different people. And that brings me to that point that despite having that privilege, despite having that amount of attention, that amount of fame, he is someone who has gone through this whole breakdown. That is the only connecting point between a person of privilege and someone who doesn't have it. That's the only connecting point, and that's the only gray area that this special has. That that if you want to look at it in a very myopic way, you can just discredit this whole special by saying that, oh, it's just a white person complaining. And it is something that Bo himself it kind of addresses. That he says that, oh, I am just a white person who is complaining, and there are much less privileged people all around the world who have faced worse stuff than he is facing. At least he has a house over his head, and food, money to buy food, and anything. He has a AC in his home, as you can see in the special. People have lost their homes, they have lost their jobs. And so yeah, so if you want to discredit this special in that way, there it is. All right. But if you can look past that little area, there is so much to unpack. And again, like I like to keep things spoiler free. So so I'm not going to go into too much detail about what he has actually said. The bit that actually really that really pulled me into the special. I mean, it was, I was already invested in the special from the get go, but the special that actually really pulled me in was the YouTube reactions bit, where he does a song, which is like a 40s inspired song, and then he cuts to him reacting to it. But then the video cuts to him reacting to the reaction, and then it goes one level further of him reacting to all those reactions before that. And it it actually made me very anxious, because what he's saying all through that, if you can hear it, and you can always obviously see it if you have the subtitles turned on, but if you see it and you hear it, he's talking about self analysis. Like how, yes, self awareness is a really good thing, and everybody should be self aware, but sometimes that gets the better of you. Like you start to be so self aware of yourself that you scrutinize yourself, and you keep talking about, okay, is this good, is this good enough, is this good enough for me, is this better than what I have done before, is this going to be the next big thing that is going to break the internet or something like that. It's this constant struggle to be better than who you were that actually makes you worse. वो वाला bit just focuses on that.
at least in my opinion, or by my what I could kind of observe from that bit, is that he tries to explain that, and that is something that I suffer from. Again, I want to put it into perspective that I am in no way comparing myself to Bo Burnham. He's 100 times more talented than I am or I will ever be. I'm just saying that there is a middle ground where the process of dealing with these doubts and these anxieties is similar. It's on that middle ground where the process of dealing with these struggles and these anxieties get similar. That's all I'm saying. But that said, I want to say that um, it got real in that moment. It really got real in that moment, and it made me kind of, because the whole, again, I'm not an expert in analyzing people and everything, but what I could get from that whole special is that he's trying to show how insane he has become. Like the situation is so absurd right now that he's not in his right mind. Like he's having feelings, has and he's having issues that are so disjointed. And and for a person like me who prides myself in the fact that okay, maybe I am above everyone else, and I can weather any kind of problem, and because that's how tough I am, not physically but mentally, that's how tough I am. And if anybody comes to me and asks for some kind of suggestion or advice, I automatically start to think that, yeah, since I'm so self-aware and I can scrutinize myself, I can help this person too. Like that's how woke or enlightened I am. But uh, but I know for a fact that I am not. It's all a defense mechanism to kind of not get crushed by society and this pandemic and everything around you. And um, and that bit actually just that actually crushed me. That actually made me think that, yeah, this thing that I've been trying to avoid, which is not facing the fact that maybe I'm not the best person to go to for suggestions and advices, or pretending to be that person who should advise people to do what they want to do in their life. I'm not that person. And that that really got me. And and the second thing that obviously, and since I was starting to question my sanity at that moment, I was also starting to question that if I am not that capable to understand who I am and to give suggestions, or if my observations are correct or not, I started to question the fact that what am I doing with my profession? Because and then that also brought the dilemma that I know nothing else other than this profession. There is nothing else to do other than this work that I'm doing, that is talking about movies, shows, and short films, and now comedy specials, right? So that people are dying and people are in distress and people are going through all kinds of trouble, and I'm telling them to watch a movie, watch a show. How dare I say someone to do that during this kind of situation? I know this kind of I think this speech is kind of counterproductive to the fact that I've just made a list of movies and shows that people should watch, but that's what it is. That's the dilemma. That in itself is the dilemma. That if I don't know anything else to do other than this, what should I do? The movies, the shows, or the stuff that I talk about, how I talk about it, and what I talk about it is kind of the padding that helps me to get through the day. That's the only thing that I have that helps me to get through the day. So I have to do it, but I feel guilty doing it. Like I am not being true to myself. It's frustrating. It's really, it makes me really angry. Maybe not so much now than it did before, when I had a job and I had to do it for a living, like literally for a living, and that was more frustrating because then because in that situation I want to take a break. I want to detach myself from this miserable situation even for a bit, but I'm not able to, and that was more frustrating. I will admit that. It probably is not more as frustrating now, uh, but still, like I can, and the thing is that like in a bit where Bo actually says that, and it's a really depressing moment in the comedy, is where he says that like like if he was given the option to switch off for 18 months, he would have taken that option. Same, same. But the thing is that I tried to switch off. I tried to switch off for 2 weeks after I was terminated from my job, and I tried to just watch movies and shows, and just sit on my thoughts. But I was unable to. Something in my brain makes me think that, oh, people are going ahead, people are moving ahead, my peers, my colleagues, ex-colleagues are moving ahead, they are progressing. What will come out of my stagnation? What will come out of it? Like, and nobody's stopping. Like there is a bloody pandemic going on, and nobody's ready to stop. Nobody is ready. People are, and I understand it with a lot of other professions who are whose profession is to avert this pandemic, but who am I in comparison to them? I'm nothing. I'm just an entertainer. I'm not even an entertainer. I'm a commentator on entertainment. So again, that also makes me think that. But like this, so since I am a commentator on entertainment, I am in a way in this race to go somewhere. I don't know where, but I am in this race. I'm automatically in this race to get to a goal which will bring fame, power. I don't know, it will bring something. I can't see the goal, but it's this. It's almost, it's not a race, it's like uh one of those conveyor belts that just you stand on it and you have to move forward, and its pace is not going to stop, and you just have to move forward. And once you get off the conveyor belt, you're done. I am not that talented to think that, oh, I'm going to take like somebody like Dave Chappelle, that I'm going to go away from the scene for 20 years or 11 years. I don't know how long he was gone. But I will take a break and I will come back as awesome as I was, or with better content, with better observations. I can't do that. What can I do? I don't know. I really don't know. And it gets that kind of dilemma kind of works into the also the fact that how long do you have to fight, right? Because again, like I said, America is much more privileged than India, and I feel good in a way for Bo that he has a future ahead of him. People have been vaccinated, and they will be able to regain some form of normalcy. Whereas in my country, that's not even a foreseeable future. Like today in the news, there was a news that it was being said that the government of India is planning to um stop all second dose vaccines. They're saying that first dose vaccines are enough. First dose vaccines are enough. You don't have to come for second dose vaccine. The truth of the matter is that they don't have vaccines. They don't have enough vaccines to vaccinate people. A few days ago, Prakash Javadkar, he said that by December 2021, all of India will be vaccinated. But now they're saying that they're not even going to give the second dose. They're not going to fully vaccinate people. On the other hand, there is Ramdev, a spiritual guru of sorts, who is talking about converting allopathic doctors to Ayurveda and homeopathy. This is the situation that we are currently in. And I am expected to think about what I am going to do in entertainment journalism. It's insane. It's an insane situation, and I don't know how to deal with it. It's a weird situation. But the only kind of hope that I derive, the only kind of strength that I kind of derive in order to fight this dilemma of sorts, which by the way has been opened by this stand-up comedy, is that I have struggled for 27 years. I have parents who love me. I have friends who love me. And I have to survive for them. I have to make it mean something. Because if I don't make it mean something, then the hopes and expectations that they have from me are going to be for nothing. And I'm not going to be able to say the person that I was before, that you suck, because I am better than you. That has always been a constant fight to see that the person I was 10 or 15 years ago, that I am getting better than you. So even though it's a struggle and it's a fight, it's an uphill fight. I have to do it. It can't be for nothing. That's what it is. It is obviously like pushing a wall. Like I said, it's obviously like pushing a wall. In this profession, all the big companies and professionals are like, if you do a cursory search of LinkedIn, and you will see that people are just out there to exploit you, man. It's right out there. They are hiring a graphic designer for the job of a social media manager, as well as a writer, and if they can make you make coffee or something like that, they will also make you do that, because they know that we are desperate, and there are not a litany of options out there to choose from. I have I have a bloody movie in this list that talks about the employment in India, so you can see that it is based on that. And it is like pushing a wall, an immovable object. And but you gotta do it. You gotta do it for yourself, your family, your friends. You gotta keep reminding yourself that it's all for nothing. It should mean nothing. It has to mean something. Even if the government doesn't give you vaccines, if the government doesn't give you jobs, and you have to pave your way. That's it. You have to do it. And what I feel, my opinion only, is that you have to be as honest as you can with yourself. In my Instagram story, I said that Bo Burnham has kind of put the mirror in front of himself and forced himself to look at him. And while doing so, he has also put the mirror in front of the society, in front of us, to be real with ourselves. That whole white woman's Instagram bit is a way to call out the fact that if we keep putting photos of, all those sepia toned photos or chrome, why am I saying chrome, black and white photos of you enjoying shit, it it won't get you through this phase. Momentarily, probably, but you gotta be real with yourself. Your mental health has to come at the top of your priority list. It has to. You have to be real about that. A few years ago, mental health wasn't a thing to be discussed in our households, because our parents who were born in the 70s and 80s, mental health wasn't considered a thing. झाड़ फूक करके वो सब निकाल देते थे. That was their notion. But now during this pandemic especially, it has become a topic. That's how real things are. So it has to come at the top of your priority list. And you gotta answer that first. What are the things that comfort you? What do you need to do in order to stay functional or not? Even if you don't stay functional, how do you stay healthy? And it can't be made of superficial things like putting photos of expensive food on Instagram, or I don't know, buying other stuff, saying that you're hashtag positive. It won't last. It will probably give you the boost that you need right now, in that brief moment where the likes start to come in and ends. That brief moment it will give you, but then you will start to search for something else. I'm not saying it has to be a permanent solution, but it has to be something that is at least semi-permanent, and it has to be for you and for the sake of your loved ones. It's a difficult time, and it has been aptly captured by Bo in this little special. And it's gonna be like I said, that it's gonna be like this for a few more months, for I don't know, maybe for a few more years for us. And we have to prepare ourselves for that. We can't look for temporary solutions to get through this. I have to, at least. I have to. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Bo Burnham Inside, a stand-up comedy on Netflix, which I think everybody should watch. It will probably give you a mental breakdown that I have had. But maybe there is, and that is something that is addressed by Bo, that there is a specific point a kind of peak where the show reaches at, where you're probably going to shut it down. You're gonna think that it's just too weird for me. But if you can understand what he's trying to show and what he's trying to do, you're gonna watch it through to its end. So please watch it. Thank you.